Hey everybody, it's James with Rowe-Thrush. Welcome to the Rowe-Thrush Livestream Interviews show. You may notice something a little different. First, I'm not in our home office studio. I'm working from home here today. Also, as you may notice too, my beard is gone. It's officially spring and writing season, so that always means I cut off that long beard that I grow during the winter. The Rowe-Thrush Livestream Interview Show. This show we like to bring on different supplier partners of ours once a week and interview them, asking them the questions that a Grainger account manager would want to know in order to be a little bit more knowledgeable about that supplier. Today, we will be interviewing Rittal and getting into the world of electrical enclosures, heating and cooling cabinets for electrical components as well. Before we do that, real quick about who Rowe-Thrush is. We're a manufacturer rep agency that specializes in working with Grainger. We represent just over 60 different brands into Grainger, ranging from lighting and electrical, material handling, hand tools, pneumatics, safety and security, plumbing, and heating and air conditioning. We have a lot of great resources available to the Grainger sales force as well, such as the Rowe-Thrush SharePoint site that houses our entire library of Graingerized literature, Rowe-Thrush videos, and much, much more. We also jump on district team calls promoting our suppliers and the brands and products that they bring to Grainger as well. And with that, I'd like to welcome Stephen with Rittal. Welcome, Stephen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thanks. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here today. Looking forward to doing this interview with you. And before we get into Rittal, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with Rittal? What is it that you do there? And what did you do before you came to Rittal?
Okay, sure. So I'm the manager of training and development here. I specialize in a lot of the technical product training that we do. Been at Rittal for 27 years. It'll be this fall, 27 years. And early on was production control. Then I did some, in addition to training, I did some work with our trade show and exhibits group. Prior to Rittal, I did as a operations manager for an environmental laboratory, and then I was also an officer in the Ohio Army National Guard.
Oh wow, that's amazing, and the fact that you've been with Rittal for 27 years, that says a lot about the company you work for. They must be a pretty good company because otherwise you wouldn't be there for so long. So
yeah, they're great products, great people. So it's exciting and to always be a part of the potential and the innovation of Rittal.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all of that here in a moment. A lot of great stuff that we're going to cover. But one more question that I always like to ask everybody that we bring on the show, again, to just get to know you a little bit more as a person. And that is, what is your favorite movie and why?
Oh, no.
It could be any type of movie.
Yeah, that was there's so many good ones. I'm gonna have to. Black Hawk Down. Just kind of the military aspect of things. But Black Hawk Down is one of my favorites. But there's some other good ones as well.
I remember when that movie came out. I remember seeing it in the movie theater, and I was blown away. I'd never seen a military type movie made quite that way. Hearing the sound of the bullets whizzing by and all that, never really saw that before in a movie, and based on true events and everything. In a way, kind of heartbreaking that the events unfolded the way that they did, and we lost so many people, so many of our soldiers.
Extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate to meet one of the operators in the actual event, the Battle for Mogadishu. He's a country singer. He also does some guests. He does some motivational speaking, and he spoke at an event for us at Rittal years ago. And so that was quite an honor to actually meet somebody that was there.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really neat. So let's get into Rittal. Tell us a little bit about what it is that they manufacture, a little bit about their history, and we'll get into more questions here.
Sure. Rittal is a global manufacturer, and they started out doing electrical enclosures for industry, and then today their portfolio has expanded quite a bit to include manufacturing server racks on the IT side for some of the major global IT OEMs that everybody knows the names of. And a lot of that stuff's made right here in Ohio where their manufacturing plant is. But then they also get into climate control, which is kind of timely for right now because things are heating up, of course. It's getting hot and humid. And this is when people are going to start to experience issues in their environmental space. And it can be in the IT space, it could be on the industrial plant floor. And this is a great picture, by the way, of a little bit of the mix and how everything looks great and it goes together. Um, so we're seeing, air conditioners, and we're seeing power distribution, in the form of bus bar. And so all these, the enclosures, and then there's some pendant arm systems, and you mentioned HMI within, Granger portfolio as well. So yeah, they do. They have quite an extensive list of products that are exceptionally engineered and very innovative, and in this marketplace.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things too to take away when it comes to Rittal, the quality and the innovation that goes into the products that you make. You guys are at a whole nother level compared to some of the other leading competitors out there. So when it comes to the types of customers that would be interested in purchasing a Rittal item, who would those people be?
So if we kind of look at the segments that Granger looks to cater into and sell into, a lot of the manufacturing space, of course, because if you're thinking about, of course, electronics, and they have to be protected, they have to be provide safety in those environments, and so manufacturing is kind of our core space as well. Healthcare. So when you get into, again, any kind of IT gear, I mean, there's not a place or a business today that's not using servers or switches or hubs and routers and stuff to run their businesses. And so the security side of things as well get us into remote monitoring and management if we need to, but just the physical security of the cabinets, especially on the IT side, military, education, or some other fields. And again, some of it is within the IT products that they all use, and then also it can be some more hazardous location type of environments that we also have products that do quite well into. Food and bev. I mean, there's a lot of verticals out there. So like we had kind of talked about earlier, there's virtually anywhere we can get into that space and offer products.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it in today's environment, everybody has network systems, everybody has computers, video surveillance, just all sorts of electrical components that need these cabinets to house them, to keep them protected, to keep them nice and cool and operating, effectively. So thank you for covering all of that. That will definitely help the Granger sales force as far as targeting the types of customers that can use your products. Now, getting into customer business issues or CBIs, what types of solutions can Rittal products help bring to the Granger sales force and their customers?
Okay. If we look at the list there on the right, certainly cost savings and productivity, because if you're properly maintaining the equipment and the let's say air conditioners or cooling, since this is kind of the topic here, is doing its job, then you're preserving the life of those, you're increasing your uptime and reducing downtime, which is how people make their revenue. And so if you have a dependable product, if you have something that's working well, and really, when you look at the Rittal climate control, just in general, they do a phenomenal job of engineering, not only bringing innovation into it, but what I've seen over 27 years is really the focus on the customer as far as value. And to me, what is value in a product? It's something that it has the potential. It's making my life easy. If I'm an engineer, I'm asking the question, how can I do something more efficiently? If I'm just the most basic level is what product that I'm using makes my life easier. And that could be, faster, easier to install. But what I see with Rittal products, especially climate control, is they engineer it with energy savings and cost and ROI in mind. And everything that we do, we can actually bring back to a computable ROI that we can show. If it's the efficiency of an air conditioner, if it's the reduction of time for maintenance, those kinds of things. So those play well into the quality of the climate control that we have. We can document quite a bit of that. On the safety side of it, if something is lighter or it's easier or it's designed around ergonomics, certainly that's going to benefit any workforce, because if you can reduce injury or strain on people, we all know that if somebody gets hurt or injured, it's very expensive. Not only are you losing an individual, not losing an individual, but you know what I'm saying, their productivity. So if they're injured, they might have to be off work or
Mhm.
worse, and then so that gets to be very expensive. On the sustainability side, these things are, like you mentioned, absolute quality engineered, and if maintained properly and people take care of their equipment just like anything, it's gonna last quite a while and function like it's supposed to. And the benefit to that is, longer life of products and then ROI. And if we look here just at these little quick pillars real quick, this is more on the industrial side, but when they were kind of looking at these air conditioners, we pulled the industry, what do you guys want? Voice of the customer, right? What do you want to see? What can we do in creating the next generation of climate control products? And so if they were a machine builder, they were looking for things like worldwide certifications and approvals. Rittal's in 80 countries, right? And so we've got this global presence of manufacturing and service and repair and stock locations. And so they want that. They want a greater range of cooling. They also want parameterization, means, how do I interact with it? How can I pull information off of it and make it intuitive? I don't want something that's difficult to work with. Again, which one makes my life easier? And then a standard for energy efficiency. So everybody, especially today, look at how much money can they save? What's the return to me? Panel builders, they just kind of want something simplified. Maybe you've got a range of AC products that maybe only require one cutout. So your setup is consistent, your setup is reduced in the number of applications that you have. I don't care if it's a machine or you're doing it manually. Um, that's a benefit. And so that's something that the Rittal Bluey Plus line has. We talked about ergonomics. And then finally, like on the end user side, what are they interested in? They're interested in saving money, right? So their energy efficiency, they're looking for longevity of product, which kind of ties into the quality, if it's going to last and perform as it's supposed to. Things that make maintenance easier, things that make handling the product easier and installation. So all these things were voice of the customer that have been engineered into our next generation of products going forward.
Yeah, that's great that you reached out to your customer base and you asked for that information and that feedback to make a better product and then implemented it into your product. So that's great to hear. Now, putting on the Granger account manager hat, and let's say you're walking into a facility, what should they be looking for when they go into a facility?
So, obviously in this picture, some things can be, pretty obvious. And this is not anything that was staged. This was an actual application. And we were told we could use the picture as long as we didn't, have any kind of company logos or name of the company on there. But literally what happened here was, for whatever reason, the control cabinet was experiencing heat rise and heat loss, and to the point that it was starting to cause problems with manufacturing. Somebody literally stole the foreman's window air conditioner, propped it up, and what you don't see here is a long line of extension cords. So so and you've got this crate paper over, and it's all taped down. So they're trying to do a good job of sealing the cabinet. But the thing is, here obviously we see a lot of OSHA violation. There's a lot of safety concerns here, but you see certain things that are obvious, like if you walk through a factory and you see an enclosure door that's open and a big fan in front of it, just trying to blow air into the cabinet to either displace the hot air that's in there. It may be something as inconspicuous as maybe some water that's at the base of the enclosure, because this could point to things like, is the enclosure leaking, meaning um, the warm air is getting in and the air conditioner, for example, is generating a lot of condensation. So that condensation has to go somewhere. Is it being drained properly? So even just water on the floor in and around an electrical cabinet obviously should be a warning sign. So,
Mhm.
some of these things, maybe it's going by um, units that are in the facility and they're flashing alarm codes,
Mhm.
or you're looking at controls that may be cracked or damaged on the cabinet, which really kind of tells you too that if they're not well sealed, the air conditioner is going to generate a lot of condensation if that warmer air is trying to get into the box, and then, or maybe the enclosure climate control is set too cold. A lot of times people think the colder the better, and that's absolutely not true.
Hmm.
When you're talking about industrial controls, they need to be in this area of 90 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and so we consider that sweet spot at about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So different things like that are kind of clues. Water around a cabinet, water on a cabinet, something like this. Cracked or damaged controls, and it's just a point of being able to say, hey, this could lead to this type of problem. Or water collection devices that are around the box. Are
Hmm.
there drain tubes? Are there water bottles, coffee cans, tiles, who knows what? But these are clues that there might be something wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, this picture right here, I'm sure there's a puddle of water on the ground as well. So you have multiple, not only the extension cords, the window unit, but also a puddle. I mean, you have possible slip hazards. You have possible corrosion of other items, or electrocution too.
Yes.
If it's near an electrical enclosure. So a lot of safety hazards there. Thank you so much for pointing all of that out. And earlier when we were going through this, I was like, oh, well, they could also put a fan there, and hopefully it's a Dayton fan that's blowing in there to help cool everything down.
Right.
But those are all some great insights as far as what to look for. Now, let's say an account manager, they see this situation going on, or a fan blowing into an electrical enclosure. Who should they be talking to, and what are some questions that they should ask those people?
I think, when you're certainly, maybe no particular order, but facilities maintenance. Facilities maintenance will be aware of if there are air conditioners or climate control, and how they're going to know that is by downtime, or think of it the other side, the amount of machine uptime that you have. But if equipment is failing, there's a reason for that, and we need to figure out what that is. So they will kind of be aware of if an air conditioner isn't working properly, or a cabinet's been overheating more regularly, then what is the root cause of that, and then what can we do to take care of that. So facilities and maintenance folks will know. Operations manager, because they're responsible for the productivity, what's getting made, how much is going out the door, even to the machine downtime, and what's going on with those machines, they should also be aware. And a lot of times they'll be, kind of the guys that could talk to as well, because they'll kind of understand the need to get that fixed and to preserve productivity. And then safety managers too. I mean, obviously you see something like this, they may also be aware of where other issues are that need to be taken care of. And it's not just for OSHA coming through, it's for the safety of the individuals and the workers, which should be the highest priority of any organization, really. So I think those are the people to start with. And maybe even the operators themselves, if you can get a chance, and if they want to talk, because sometimes in a factory they'll ask these guys to, don't worry to engage a visitor, and just talk with them a little bit and show them what you do. They may also know if there's issues with the climate control, or yeah, this thing's had an alarm on it for 3 months now, and we don't even know what to do with it. So you can get some information that way.
Great, excellent. Thank you for going through all of that. So next, you had a product line that you wanted to talk about. So the Blue E air conditioners. Please, let's get into this, and let's tell how these work and applications and what makes them special.
Okay. Sure. So right now, Rittal really has two um, classes of air conditioners. We call Blue E, like we see here, and then also Blue E Plus. And there's different capabilities within each line. So kind of the gist of the Blue E line is you've got roof mount models and wall mount or door mounted versions. Um, the efficiency by design on these is about 45% efficiency. And when that is designed into a product, it's the relationship of the cooling output to the power consumption to deliver that. And so you get this number. So let's say, for example, if you had 100 watts of cooling and 100 watts of power, that's a 1, right? So you always want that number to be very high. The higher, the better as far as energy efficiency, or EERs. And so will everybody experience that every time? Certainly not. I mean, this is the way they are designed at certain parameters, and you will either do better than that or not as well, depending on things like maintenance or the environment, right? So, but by design, this gives you an idea of where this is. The capacities on these are anywhere from, maybe 500 watts up to 4 kW or so. And then they utilize a nano coating technology. So 27 years at the same company at Rittal, thank goodness they're very innovative and bring new products in all the time. It always gives me something new to talk about. I'm not talking about the same thing every day, right? So we're kind of like the pioneers in this industry. So much of the technologies that we see in the enclosure world and even climate control is stuff that Rittal first brought into the industry, and nano coatings is an example of that. So we think of Teflon on a frying pan. Uh, it doesn't not supposed to allow stuff to stick. So dirt and dust blow through very rapidly, and it doesn't allow it to clog up, because then that causes a derating of the performance. So if we're sizing this air conditioner for a certain performance and all of a sudden, it can't breathe properly, that's going to waste electricity, it's going to waste energy. And so the nano coatings help this process, and it also keeps the maintenance intervals or between intervals longer, because you're really not having to clean it very much, and you're not going to get issues with filters and clogged up uh, air conditioners. So this technology, the nano coatings, exist on both Blue E and Blue E Plus. Another thing that we have is condensate evaporators. So internal condensate evaporators, and what it does is it kind of cooks off any of the condensation that's a normal byproduct of using an air conditioner on a cabinet, and about 100 milliliters an hour. So again, this allows us to get into dry plant areas. You're not supposed to be seeing, water buildup and that kind of thing, because it cooks it off as long as everything's maintained properly. So those are benefits on at least the energy side, and then also the maintenance side, because it's quicker and easier, not doing solvents and taking a lot of time to do that. So the other thing that we do to increase efficiencies is use EC fans. So electrically commutated fans are throughout the entire AC line, both of them, both Blue E and Blue E Plus. And an EC fan by design is 30% more efficient than a standard fan. So
Hmm.
using Rittal fans, anything with the fan solution in it, they're automatically going to get a 30% ROI on energy. So that's a huge step in saving money and return on investment. So if we look at the things that we can impact, the energy costs, a lot of people don't know this, about almost half of the cost of owning an air conditioner or a cooling product is just in the energy, right? You've got maintenance, that's just 13%. Then you have the other costs that go into that. But what we can directly impact and improve for our customers is the energy and the maintenance. And so 60% of that, we can help drive those costs down and save our um, customers money.
Excellent. Thank you for going through all of that. So now you wanted to get into the Blue E Plus line of products,
Yeah,
and these are fairly new products too, correct?
yeah, so Blue E Plus has been around a little while, maybe 4 or 5 years, but this one is what's kind of exciting is it's a patented technology by Rittal, and what it does is it incorporates heat pipe technology with compressor-based cooling in the same unit. And where we talked about before with Blue E at about a 45% efficiency, Blue E Plus is designed to run at 75% efficiency. And so when you're looking at this heat pipe technology and then compressor based cooling together, and kind of a smart controller that it learns and it speed controls the components to maximize your ROI, this is pretty smart. So there's a lot of great technology into this, and again, being patented by Rittal, um, you know, it kind of secures our future and our product line within that, to having that ownership for quite a while. When we did this, again, another voice of the customer was, we asked people in this next gen product, what matters to you? What do you want to see? And they said, we want better energy efficiency. Of course, people saving money, make it easy to mount, make it easy to handle, and then what I thought was really cool about this is multi-voltage capability, but just on the handling side. Again, this ties into safety because I swear with some of the other folks that are out there, these other manufacturers of climate control, in their instructions, you hear things like, well, get a forklift and then get a 2x4 block and tilt it at 10 degrees, and then you got to mount. That's doesn't sound safe. So, you know, our units are designed with these, robust handles on the back side of it, so it's very easy to lift and install into the enclosure that you're mounting it to, and then a lot of toolless features on the onset that these clips lock into the hole pattern, so that's safe, and you're not tying up another individual to hold it in place while you then go ahead and put your more permanent hardware in there. So these were the things that we looked at and designed into Blue E Plus. Um, so this real quickly, this heat pipe technology is nothing more than a copper tubing with refrigerant in it, 134A, and all it does is it absorbs the heat, and then it changes phases from a liquid to a gas, and then as it rises, it gives off the heat, releases the heat into the ambient air, and when it does that, it changes back from a gas to a liquid, and so you just have this pattern that there's no mechanical energy involved. And so that's where you're saving money too. You've got an AC fan that's blowing across the top of it to help, pull the heat out, but that's it. So you can get extreme efficiencies, even above 75%, if you're running only in heat pipe mode at maybe some lower ambient temperatures. But really cool technology because in any AC environment, the compressor, that's the energy vampire, right? That's if you can kind of keep him out of play, then that's when you're saving money. And so this is what this is designed to do.
Yeah, that technology is really amazing to hear, and it brings me back to my automotive days, having to do air conditioning on cars. I absolutely hated doing air conditioning on cars. It was always it was just a thorn in my side, and customers complaining of a leak that their car has, not knowing that their car, when you turn the AC on, it will drip water out of a little drain tube, and it's designed to do that. The condensation, it doesn't have the Rittal technology in it where it evaporates it and all that. So really cool to hear about that.
Mhm. And this is actually designed. Another kind of cool feature is virtually every other AC unit in the marketplace kind of maxes out at 131 ambient, just because of technologies and what we're doing today. But this Blue E Plus can actually go up to 140. So that's pretty neat that it's actually able to top out almost anything else out there in those environments up to 140. So this slide really, this is what I think is really cool, is the multi-voltage capability. So basically this takes any incoming AC current and changes it over to DC for all the controls inside. So if you're looking at the range here of 1.5 kW up to 2.5, true multi-voltage, so single phase 110, 230, you can do dual phase 240, you can do three phase 380 to 480 within those ranges. And what's super cool about that is then if you're an OEM, you don't worry about, well, make sure I got to choose an air conditioner of this capacity and then I got to make sure I get the right voltage. That's kind of out of the equation. And then if you're stocking the product, if you're, putting it on the shelves, this reduces your inventory by about 2/3 because instead of stocking by capacity and then multiple voltages within that capacity, now you just stock by capacity. And then the two exceptions, the two highest ones, the 4 and the 6 kW, and those are three phase only, but they're still multi voltage in the range of 380 to 480.
That's amazing right there that you guys just said, hey, forget it. We're not going to have three different voltages for each different variant that we have. We're just going to do it right from the get-go. That's really smart there. It makes it a lot easier too, I think, for a customer to make that buying decision. But also, like you said, from a stocking situation, whether it's Rittal stocking it or Grainger stocking it, just makes it a lot easier, reducing the overall impact there.
Yep. Yep.
Looks like we got a question from Mark here. Are the automation features for remote monitoring and control with the Blue E Plus units?
Excellent question. And the answer is yes. We actually have a device now called the IoT interface module. And this can remotely monitor and manage 2 air conditioners and up to 32 other sensors.
Wow.
and it all comes back under one IP address. It's a really cool product, and yeah, absolutely. And so you can set it up so that in the event of an alarm or anything, it comes right to your phone. Well, it actually emails you, but guess what? Email comes right to our phone. So no matter where I'm at in the world at any time, if there's an issue, I don't have to be present. It sends me the information and lets me know what the issue is. So yeah, great question there. And we have that for Blue E Plus and for Blue E. So we actually brought on an adapter that now allows us to go back and communicate and monitor anything that we've already had in place with the Blue E line for years.
Wow, that's cool. That's neat stuff you guys got there. Again, very innovative company here with Rittal. All these technologies that we've been talking about here for the last bit. Let's go on to the next slide.
Okay. Yeah, very quickly, typical AC operations is you have a set point at which the cooling comes on and then it cools down to what's called the hysteresis. This is the cooling window. But in effect, you end up having this wave pattern that you see here. So, cooling and then off, and it heats up and cooling and off. So, you get that temperature swing, which could, at sometimes cause thermal stress on components, but you have that on and off. And what Blue E Plus does is it takes that and it learns, because of the PID controller, it learns and takes that hysteresis of a 5K or 5C change and dials it down into point 0.2. So you can see the pink line here, the magenta line, is it starts out, but then as it learns, it dials that back in. So you have very consistent cooling, very consistent environment within the cabinet, and that also helps with your energy costs.
Very neat. Next slide.
So something kind of exciting is, on the left kind of shows an overview of what we've just spoken about, including ways that I can communicate with the air conditioner. So we already talked about the IoT interface. You can also do it through local touchpad on the air conditioner. You can do it with your laptop and a USB cable. You can also do it with, guess what, if you've got an Android phone, you can download the near field communication app. And then I can do things like just, it's 1.4 centimeters from the display, and I can pull up all the maintenance data. I can pull up all spare parts. I can pull up part numbers. So much data and programming that I can pull up on my phone, where I don't have to push buttons and hook up a laptop. And then the other thing here that's kind of exciting, new product wise, this year we've just announced smaller sizes. So now we're down into 300 watt, 500 watt, and 1,000 watt, what we call Blue E Plus S. And these are small form factors, right? And then what's kind of cool about this is, in the event of an alarm condition, they actually will report colors on the front. So if you see orange or red, I'm sorry, I think it's yellow and red, then you have a warning level. The other thing, so visually from across the space, I can tell if there's an issue. And so then you can set these up actually with your cell phone and the app that comes with the air conditioners, that if you want it to be green, you can make it green. If you want blue, you can do blue. You can do white. You can do different colors, maybe for whatever reason, your identification or to represent your company colors. But then the two are reserved for warning and
An
alarm
alarm.
conditions. So yeah, so really neat things. These are cool products just released, smaller footprints, smaller cooling capacities.
Very neat. And I think that was the slide where I was like supposed to ask anything new, that line of products there. So my mistake jumping the gun there with the Blue E Plus.
Maybe
But
I jumped the gun. That's okay.
but very cool that you can change those colors. Yeah, you could set one to green for the west end of the facility, and white for this specific piece of machinery. So really cool that you guys have that adaptability on the consumer end. So I think the next slide, I don't want to ask the question before it comes up. Okay, great. So what types of resources do you have available? And I do see that we have another question from Mark here, basically asking the same exact question, the types of resources that you guys have.
Yeah. So what's really good about all these resources is it's just open and free to the public. So just go to our website, rittal.us or rittal.com, and the com should reroute you back to rittal.us. And so we have things like application support. We've got the ability to go into the part number of the device and then look at CAD models. You can look at all the technical data about the air conditioner. You can look at, the amount of refrigerant and the weight and how it's wired. You can get into competitor cross references. We've got software called Therm, and Therm software is the ability to go in and not just for Rittal enclosures, but any enclosure that's out there. Doesn't matter if it's some of the national guys or local mom and pops and local tin knocker stuff. It doesn't matter if it's got height, width, and depth. Actually, if it's just got a flat sheet of steel on it, we can mount climate control to it because our climate control will fit on anything that's out there. And so when you use Therm, it's just going to ask you some questions about that application, and the end result, it will give you the closest capacity and how many that you need for that solution, and then several suggestions higher, because maybe the first match in capacity would be a Blue E air conditioner, but then maybe somebody says, hey, but this other one has so much more capacity and it's got this 75% efficiency, better ROI. So let's just spend a touch bit more money to get that one. And we're going to see an ROI much quicker than maybe the Blue E. So it gives you multiple alternatives. And so Therm, again, you can use it for anything that's out there, but it's going to return a Rittal product for you. And then there's also something that's new, climate control quick finder. This is something that within 3 simple questions, it points you right in the right direction of the product choice, whether it's a fan or whether it's air conditioner, air to water, heat exchanger, heater, whatever you need. 3 simple questions just kind of get you in the right area. So lots of good tools online and free.
That's great. The fact that you have it as simplified as possible for the end user to be able to help pick out those products, that's great to hear. Now, also, when it comes to Grainger, do we have outside field reps that Grainger could use as well to help out with customer visits?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, we kind of got a kind of multi-tiered approach to that. So, and I don't mean structured in a way. I just say we've got a lot of support and a lot of help. And so we have a service and a maintenance team that, if we need to go out on site and do service and repair, or maybe administer preventive maintenance contracts, anything like that, or maybe thermal audits we can do. We've got a line of people called system consultants that are very technical expertise in every region of the U.S. And so we can use these guys as resources to help, or to go along on a visit and help answer a lot of these questions. There's a lot of times that we can, by people knowing Therm, for example, we get a lot of calls just for us to double check work or to help people walk through that, or other training resources on Therm, because people do realize it's a great tool, relatively easy to use, and dependable. And so even a call into customer service or tech support team. So there's a lot of people that are knowledgeable about climate control and the enclosures and willing to help. And they're spread out, so.
Excellent. Looks like we have another question here from Mark before we wrap things up.
Okay.
Does Rittal offer specialty enclosures for applications like food and beverage manufacturing? And what about oil and gas applications?
Mark, are you secretly a Rittal employee? Because those are really great questions that kind of walk us right into some good stuff. So let's take this one at a time. So yes, we absolutely do. Food and bev, we have a line called the HD, so hygienic design, that is specifically designed around sanitation, Code of Federal Regulations, FDA approved, the blue silicone gasket. And I'm not kidding you when I'm saying that I think it's the best food and bev enclosure that's out there, right? I mean, by design, when you look at this compared to some others that are out there, if you get you get to see one of these things, you're going to get a crowd of people around you that want to see how well this is designed. And so we've got everything from little screw cover boxes to, large enclosures, freestanding, within that HD line. And it's something, they're all IP69K. And like I said, multiple global certifications and approvals, extremely well designed. You can see those right on our website. Just look for HD. And then I believe the other part of that question had to do with maybe hazardous locations or something.
Oil and
There we go.
gas.
Oil and gas. So yeah, so in Ohio, where we're doing our main manufacturing plant, we've got global manufacturing, but here in the States, it's in Ohio. and a 500,000 square foot facility. And so we do a lot of stainless steel. We do stainless steel and 304 and 316, and we have designs even freestanding that were designed with requirements for oil and gas. And matter of fact, I mean, beautiful showroom and facility down in Houston, where a lot of that industry is, and some experts down that way as well. So absolutely, we serve those industries and have for quite a while.
Yeah, and the stainless steel line of products for food and bev, I actually remember that was one of the first large, new product introductions that I did with Rittal into Grainger many years ago. So I remember loading the pictures and all the information that Grainger requires to have the products on their website. So cool line of products there. Yeah, definitely. Well, that wraps things up. So want to just do a quick mention that both a video recording and audio recording will be available on the Rowe-Thrush SharePoint site. That way, account managers that do not have a LinkedIn profile will be able to still watch this video or download the audio recording and listen to it, maybe when they're on their way to their next customer visit, and they're going to go talk to them about Rittal. Our next live stream interview will be next Friday at 2 o'clock Central Time. That's March 27th. And this will be a special rewind episode with Nortech Security. So this was an old live stream interview that we did where we'll be just replaying that video recording for you. That way you guys can learn about what Nortech has to offer. With that, I want to thank you, Steve, for jumping on our interview show here today. And thank you, everybody, for watching this. I hope you all have a great weekend. And take care, everybody.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.